Greetings, y'all. Welcome to Karen Hope's 15 Minutes of Solid Inspiration. Y'all, this is the YouTube channel where hope grows inspiration. Thank you for being here. So, usually, jumping on the channel to let y'all know that the most recent podcast episode of my daily inspirational podcast, Karen Hope's 15 Minutes of Solid Inspiration, has been produced, published, and it's usually available down in the podcast links down below in the description box. Today would have been episode 164. It's written, but I decided not to produce or publish it. Why? There really isn't a reason why other than it was a feeling. Sometimes, y'all, let me tell you something about our routines and about our thoughts, our behaviors. Sometimes God will throw a little something in there to make sure that we're not working on ego. To check us. He doesn't need to know. He knows everything about us. But so we can be checked. We can check ourselves and stay grounded and anchored in Him and not ego. So sometimes He'll throw a little something at us like, don't do the podcast today. This is just an example. And this is the way I'm thinking about it. It may not have been the case, y'all. But the way we think and the way we respond to these thoughts we have, it's how we use our power. Power of positivity, power of certainty, which we're going to be talking about. Which we talked about in the blog, but I'm going to kind of go over it in just a second. But yes, we need to absolutely, we have to know this. The littlest bit, is littlest a word? The most tiny bit, the littlest bit of obedience. And I say littlest is because it's huge. Obedience is huge. There's no degree to it. Obedience is obedience. But sometimes it will seem silly. That's on purpose. Sometimes it'll seem impossible. That's on purpose. Sometimes it'll just seem like a fleeting thought. That's on purpose. You see? Because we have to be able to. When we're ready to move forward in all the things that we have in life, when God is preparing us for things, we have to get to a certain point where He can say, okay, now I can let the rest of this ride. I can let this, this abundance flow. I can let this, windfall come. Because, it could seem silly. We have to stop and say something like, okay, or I will, or sure, and look beyond that impossibility, seemingly impossible thing. Look beyond the pain. Look beyond the silliness. Look, y'all, when I can tell you that I mean that. What looks silly to everyone else may be a test. And when we can see beyond the silly, see beyond the doubt and the worry and reach a point of certainty, then God can work. We don't sabotage it. We don't question it. We don't think of it any other way other than God working, and we just let it work. We need to be certain about that, though, y'all. I'm going to tell you really quickly, too, just a life example, really quick. I'll make it fast, I promise. Toes are crossed, too. Legs are crossed. Fingers crossed. If I could cross my eyes right now, I would. Because it may not be that quick. But when I started this podcast, talking about this little bit of obedience, where it goes, you just never know. You have to trust God. Yeah, and I believe that was a test for me because I want to think about it that way. I think about it that way because it keeps me moving forward. It keeps me anchored in God. Because Y'all see Clyde coming. My puppy is in the video today too. He's chilling here. My kids are back on the campus. It just so happens that mommy is left to take care of the puppy during the day. But anyway, so we might see Clyde here and there while school is in. But yes, the obedience. Let me get back on track. July 3rd, I was asleep, dead asleep, like deep in sleep. And I woke up and I was like, oh, jeez, let me get some water. You know, you wake up thirsty. Do you ever wake up thirsty or snacky? Okay. So I got up to get some water. And before I put my feet on the floor, oh no, and let me tell you, no, it wasn't water that day. It was Hawaiian Punch. I remember because I put it in the freezer, man, because I wanted that. Do you remember when Hawaiian Punch used to be that formula when it was just sugar? It's not like that anymore, but it's still good. I add my own. Back to the subject. Obedience. I sat up in my bed. I went to go get the Hawaiian Punch. I sat back down like, oh, man, okay, sure. Huh. Silly, but okay, I'm up. I'm awake. So I start looking up how to produce a podcast. Seriously, this is a true story. I see $249 a year, $599 a year, all these things a year. I was like, forget that. And okay, well, and then I remembered I have a loved one, a dear loved one, that sends me and probably everyone he loves tidbits of information all day long, or every day, maybe not all day long, but every day. And he sends it because it is useful if we use it, if we choose to. Very useful. So I was, I thought, oh yeah, what about, I think that said free, is what I told myself. So I went back, threw out a whole 2 weeks worth of messages, and I found it. And I looked it up, and I practiced. And I made this really shabby podcast episode, just like my first book I wrote. Horrible, but we have to start somewhere. And someone that's never written a book, start there. And for those who start off really big, there are people that are born to be writers, and there are people that are born to tell a story, and there's a writer that writes their story for them. So it doesn't matter. What I'm trying to say right now is it sucked. It sucked. But what I did was I released it, and then I couldn't take it back because I didn't know how. I hadn't figured out that part yet. But I did figure out how to title it. So I titled it. And the next day, it was do it again. The next day, it was do it again. And now today it would have been 164 podcast episodes. Now it's but there's 163 to listen to. But y'all, that one little bit of obedience, that one little yes to what I didn't even know. I didn't know. Did I just dream something? I don't know. I don't remember. But it was a feeling. And I said yes. We should always say yes to a feeling, y'all. Yeah. So anyway, since then, that little bit of obedience, I've got this grand thing in my life. And I'm not talking about it really, look, it's grand to me because all the things that I thought that I could never do a podcast, do a YouTube channel for sure, because it's taken a lot for me. It takes a lot for me to even get on camera. And to do these things, it's helped me grow. It's helped me grow away from self-sabotaging energies that were holding me back, or I wasn't able to express myself fully or truly. I've never been able to be my authentic self because I held myself back. Scared and fearful, and self-esteem I thought was very high, but I was still telling myself what I couldn't do. And it was all there in front of me. I was doing it every day. I was doing it anyway. But I had to see that and had to embrace it and love it and then go for it, right? But anyway, that's what obedience will do. Now, what we talked about was certainty today in our blog post. Now, certainty is our superpower, was the name of the blog, was the title of the blog. And there's plenty of those to read too, down in my GoDaddy link down here at the bottom in the description box. I think maybe it's the second link up. My Facebook link too, you can see it there. I don't know how many I've done, I just know I wake up and write them and I like them. So, yeah, the certainty, it's our superpower for sure. Because when we're certain, now, there's one thing but with going with our ego, like thinking we are right in our ego, doing our own thing. We can be certain we're doing the right thing, but if we have not talked to God about it, and if we can't give God glory for that thought, then no. Like, for instance, we can be certain that we can get away with this bank robbery. We could be certain, but come on, man, that's ego. Now, we can go to God, pray and say, God, I don't know how to feel right now. I want to go out on this stage, but I'm scared. And God will put something in you that you can be certain about. It's bravery, it's confidence, it's boldness, it's knowing that whatever you ask Him in sincere prayer, and you believe Him, it's going to succeed. And you're going to do very well at it because you are giving Him glory and you are reflecting what He's doing in you. He's not ever going to let that fail. It's not going to fail. It's not anything that can fail. It's impossible. When it's with God, failure is impossible. Even if it's a personal victory, the victory is what we need. The victory is what we need to shine. It is what we need to stay anchored. It is what we need to grow and teach and reach. And even most important, I'm not sure right now. I'm going to have to check that out when I get off the channel. Sometimes you lose your grammatical rules in the sauce, right? When you're just talking. But we definitely have to just understand that when we're sure about what we're doing, that means we have talked to God, and God gives us that victory. We are born victorious. We are born to be nothing else. But our ego will make us feel like we need to do more. It'll make us feel like we need to do it faster. It'll make us feel like people are better and more skilled or whatever than us because we are not there. Well, there is theirs. See that THERE and THEIR? Did I do that right? Yeah. Theirs is theirs. That belongs over there. That's theirs. And we have ours. And it comes in time. All timing is divine. Everything that God does is divine. But when we are certain about that, then we don't do desperate things. When we are certain about what God is doing for us, we can wait. When we are certain, we can look at what other people have and say, God, man, that's such a blessing. Thank you for their blessing. And we can leave it alone. We don't have to worry about what they have because we know that we are also being blessed. Certainty makes us understand that every single thing that is divine is a miracle. Every miracle that we see is meant to keep us positive. We need to be certain about that. That is what, that certainty is what made me not do the podcast today. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. But I've had Him do something for me several times before, He, meaning God, that I really didn't get a grip on. And then I started to hear this word certainty. And it started to resonate with my spirit a certain way. And then I started saying, hey, man, yeah, if we're not certain, it doesn't work. But if we haven't talked to God, It doesn't work. So we must talk to God to be certain. You know how that goes. Infamous word problems. But we must talk to God to be certain, y'all. And that's what we talked about today in the blog. So I guess I want to say, and we'll go ahead and wrap up the video today just by that. Usually I wrap it up with a pretty little bow, but we'll just leave it like this today. Yeah, we'll leave it like this. And we'll just say that being certain, y'all, is our superpower. We need to go inside, do some introspection, figure out what it is that is not, first and foremost, making us think from an ego, from our ego. Because then if we're thinking from our ego, then we're thinking from a lack mindset, and then we get desperate to do things, and we think, and we try to take control and try to become a control freak about everything that's going on in our lives. And I'm not talking about people. I'm talking about it happening when we want it to happen too. When we want it to happen. It being that person that we want it to be. Those types of things. If we are not letting God work, nothing will be certain. When we are certain that God is working, we can let it go, let Him work. When He works, then we can be certain. Do you see how that's working there? We need to be able to, with certainty, we can let go of all of those control issues that are keeping us stuck. Making us go back around and around and around over and over again to start all over again until we are certain God has that. God is going to work it out. We are certain our prayer is working. We are certain we are doing the right thing. When we are certain, that means that we are trusting God. And when we trust God, everything unfolds nicely, because everything is a miracle. Everything seems as if it's a miracle. No, not seems as. It acts as what it is. And that's a reminder. Everything that we see, every miracle that we see, is a reminder that God is working. He is in control. And we need to just let Him do His thing. Then we can always be certain that we will have victory, okay? So that was all that in that maybe 1 or 2 minute read. I said a lot more than what was written, but that was the gist of it, y'all. So yes, day number 4 with this beautiful sunshine coming inside. What I'm going to do is wrap this video up so Clyde and I can go for a walk and get a little bit of the sunshine directly on our skin. Okay, I think Clyde likes the sun just as much as I do. Really, y'all, I don't know which one I love more, the sun or the moon. Man, but that moonshine really gives me life too. Absolutely, y'all. But what I'm going to do is, I'm going to see y'all again here tomorrow on this YouTube channel where Hope Grows Inspiration, to exchange some more awesome energy. Y'all, God bless you and yours. Go get some sunshine.